Welcome, everyone. My name is William Little. I am a professor in media studies at the University of Virginia, and I'm going to be hosting a conversation with the director of The Harder They Fall, Jeymes Samuel. A brief biography of the director. Under the musical moniker, The Bullets, Jeymes has released his highly acclaimed self-produced debut album, They Die by Dawn and Other Short Stories, featuring Yaslin Bey, aka Mos Def, Tori Amos, Jay Electronica, with narration from Lucy Liu. The album received 4 Hottest Record in the World awards from BBC Radio 1, DJ Zane Lowe, and contained the song Close Your Eyes, which was awarded Song of the Year by Loud and Quiet magazine. Jeymes directed the 51-minute film They Die by Dawn, a Western that features an all-star cast of actors, including Rosario Dawson, Michael K. Williams, Erykah Badu, and Jesse Williams, to name a few. In 2017, for the highly anticipated release of Jay-Z's new album, 444, Jeymes wrote and directed the star-studded short film Legacy. The film sees Jay-Z tackling the prison system and stars Academy Award winner Susan Sarandon, Ron Perlman, Jesse Williams, and others. So please welcome Jeymes Samuel.
Hey, William.
Hey, Jeymes. It's really nice to meet you. First, congratulations on the film. Thoroughly enjoyed it, and I'm really eager to speak with you about it.
Thank you, William. I have, you know, when they say something's a labor of love, it was really like that never so apt a phrase.
Sure. Yeah, very, very evident in the care and devotion and creativity applied. So yeah. So, you know, we're doing this obviously remotely. Welcome to Charlottesville, Virginia, as you zoom in here. And we're delighted that we're able to show your film on a large screen here in the city, and as part of the film festival. So, you know, I'm just quite eager to jump into a conversation about the film and about the Western. And I've been called on to do this because I teach a course on the Western here at the University of Virginia. So, you know, I'm all ears and just eager to get going. So, I guess to try to sort of pry open the conversation a bit, I'd like to start by talking about showdowns. You know, it's clear that you have this love of the grammar of the Western, and I can read the film as a series of showdowns or a succession of showdowns, and showdowns frame the film. And I'm thinking first about the timing of the showdown. And it's clear that you foreground that at many turns in the film, that you thinking about the timing of a showdown, the pacing of a showdown. It's even there in the dialogue where, you know, I'm quoting here from the film where Nat Love says, you know, why you always move so slow? And Cherokee Bill says, well, why you talk so much? Yeah. So you're very interested in timing and pacing. I'm just wondering if you can elaborate on that. Was that something you were thinking about a lot?
Absolutely. Like, one, you know, the showdowns is one of the most, for me, one of the most, it's not important, but celebrated ingredients of a Western, right? We love, I'm talking about from Winchester 73 to Man Who Shot Liberty Valance to almost always some high noon, there's always some sort of a showdown. But for me, the showdown work, as you just said, you were speaking about showdown, the first example you gave was just one in dialogue. They work between, they work in all forms in the Western. It's not just like two gunslingers opposite each other. It's more the thought of what could happen, right? The showdowns for me happen in Westerns before the guns are drawn. They happen in just the dialogue. People are always trying to dominate each other and establish dominance over one another. For me, the pacing of them, a lot of times is to do with the dialogue. You know, dialogue in this film was something I really concentrated on, because when people, and you know this, when people think of Westerns, they think of slow paced dialogue. And, you know, people tend to start Dave, William, and that, when that's actually nothing to do with Westerns. Only two cowboys in Hollywood really spoke like that, John Wayne and Clint Eastwood. And that's because they spoke like that in real life. The other people in those same movies were speaking regular. If you watch The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, a young Strother Martin is in it, right? And he's talking like, they're almost like little rats in the background. So for me, it was about continuous confrontation, right? The continuous confrontation, or the prospect of confrontation. Jim Beckwith being obsessed with Cherokee Bill. So then we first meet, and then those two first stand off, and Cherokee Bill just walks him out in classic Doc Holliday fashion. He just walks him out. Oh, you think there was going to be a showdown, but there's not. And for me, William, I like also playing. I like playing with what is expected in the showdown. So I try to do the showdowns in The Harder They Fall. I try to do them in a way where what you think is going to happen is not going to happen. So when Jim Beckwith first meets Cherokee Bill walks away from him, right? When they finally meet, and Cherokee Bill says, "Count down from 5," like any good old-fashioned Western, count down from 5, music drumming up, and something happens that you just don't expect. So I try to play with the pacing, I try to play with the suspense of the looming showdown. And then while we're in the showdown, and it seems like it's going really slow, 5, 4, 3, like you think it's gonna, you know what I mean?
I wonder too, you know, I mean, the showdown is such a cinematic event, isn't it? I mean, it's so stylized, it's so ceremonial that it's almost like a microcosm of the experience of cinema, particularly when you think about this idea of moving temporally toward a peak experience, which is so, you know, just such a critical element of any narrative film, that you work from a valley up toward a peak, and then you have this peak, and then it drops off, you know, back down to a valley, and then you know, eventually it builds back up again, and the showdown just has all of that embedded within it. And so I'm thinking about the showdown as a microcosm, and it's fascinating the way you play around with it, because in some ways there's a real spirituality built into the showdown too, isn't there? I use that word ceremonial, and it's almost like there's a liturgical aspect to it. Even the way you handle the dialogue, where there's a lot of repetition, the characters will repeat what they're saying to each other. And so then when you violate that, it's actually quite striking, you know, either with humor or with the villainy of Cherokee Bill. Anyway, do you want to elaborate on that? Or
yeah, I mean, you know, it's interesting, man, speaking to you, because I've never, like, you know, the interviews I've done, I haven't had these questions. I love speaking to people that know Westerns and watch. I could speak to you all day.
Yeah.
Like when they're like, "I'm sweet, you ain't sweet. I'm sweet, you ain't sweet. I am sweet, you ain't sweet." It's almost like I'm trying to. I'm giving the film modern dialogue, but what makes it modern is the way they're speaking, because we always think of it's just a habit that people have. They think of cowboys as speaking in a particular trope or in a particular rhythm. But if you listen, the further back in America in history you go, and you listen to recordings, we listen to recordings from like 100 years ago, right? Of people that were alive that was ex-slaves. They speak really fast, right? So I remember John Cleese talking about Life of Brian. And he went, the reason why you people are all upset is because we're speaking fast. Because we're speaking normal. We're speaking in regular life. But you imagine Jesus and everyone to speak like this and that. When really, it's like, speak up, mate, I can't hear you. Right? We speak, they just speak in regular speed. And so in that, I'm trying to make it modern. And as you said, like the showdown, it is a spiritual, the showdown is a spiritual exchange. It's like mano el mano on the highest possible form. It's two people that kind of both know they're going to win. If you watch a boxing match, for the most part, when I watch boxers fight, they don't both know they're going to win. Knowledge is stronger than belief. One believes he's going to win, and one kind of knows he's going to win, like Mike Tyson in his prime. But with gunslingers, because the outcome is death,
right?
It's almost as if in film, both of them kind of know they're gonna win. Because of that reason, in the first, well, it's actually the second showdown we had in The Harder They Fall, because the first one is with Nat Love in the church. When I introduced the character of Jim Beckwith, the guy says to him, the guy that's saying, Clyde Grimes, he says, I'd rather get shot than hear this mother effer keep talking. I'd rather get shot, right? He's actually saying that Jim Beckwith is faster than me.
Yeah.
But this guy's irritating me so much. I'd rather take the bullet, right? I'd rather take the bullet. It's just things that I don't see in Westerns. I'm like, it'll be hard for me and you to recall a Western where someone goes, I know you're going to kill me, but I've actually had enough of your crap. Yeah, like, I know I'm going to die, but hey, who cares? Death is better than dialogue, right? with this particular, and it's those kind of things that I've never seen. So I want to put them in the Harder They Fall, and also it just keeps everyone on their toes. And while we're having this serious storyline, it does make things kind of fun.
It does, yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's where I find you're blurring boundaries, generic boundaries, in an interesting way, because there's this, the showdown has this heightened sensibility, both for the characters, life and death stakes, but also for the viewer. I think the showdown's designed to kind of transport the viewer to this other place where it's as I said, intensely ritualized, and the church literally figures in the background of so much of what you've shot. I mean, I would actually suggest the opening scene is a showdown of sorts. So and you've got religion as a backdrop to that too, with the man with the collar and so on. But then in terms of your blurring boundaries, then it'll sort of cross over into comedies. Yeah, and the musical, right? I don't know if you want to speak about that, but you're blurring genres in an interesting way.
Super. Like, what I wanted the Harder They Fall to be is, Westerns were really the inspiration for me doing Harder They Fall, because I love, as you can tell, as do you, I love Westerns, right? And so much times we meet people that don't like Westerns, or they think they don't like Westerns. When it's not that, it's just that you've not been fed what you like. It'll be I love the Western, so I don't care in what form it comes, I'm watching it. But I can't show my wife Kevin Costner and Robert Duvall's Open Range. She would never watch that movie, right? And it was the bane of my existence that she doesn't like Westerns. Yes, you do like Westerns. You just haven't been fed the food, the nourishment and the vitamins and the echinacea that you need in the Westerns to make you say basically you need some hot sauce. Whereas Westerns were really white male centric. Even if you were a woman in the Old West, you were subservient. It took Hollywood a lot to put John Crawford in Johnny Guitar.
I was just going to bring up that film. Go ahead.
Watch this. As much as we love our Joan Crawford, as much as I love Johnny Guitar, the film is still called Johnny Guitar. She's the main person. It's still like Johnny Guitar. And my point is, like Hollywood will always give you this narrow viewpoint of what the Westerns are. Yet they'll still pull in James and William. They'll still pull us right into it, and we're here for it. We want all the smoke, as it were. But there's never any room either side to broaden the narrative. If you are a person of color, you're always subservient and, for the most part, treated less than human. If you're a woman of any color, you are always not even secondary to the plot, like third to the plot. So I wanted to make The Harder They Fall. It seems, obviously it's hyper stylized because it's Jeymes, but I wanted to make it closer to real life, show real people, and also in drama, in the most dramatic scenes that happen to us, in the most dramatic chapters of our life, there's non-stop comedy. There's always that guy in the hood that's walking past. Hey, what's up, man? And he's like, and there's always that guy that just makes everyone laugh while you're going through it with the police, while you're on the run from someone. There's always that guy. For me, that's Jim Beckwood. So to put him in it, and then life is so musical, William. If you met me on Sunset right now, I would defy us to be able to walk 2 minutes down the street without hearing music, a car riding by. So this type of stuff, I wanted to throw in The Harder They Fall, and just throw, almost make us celebrate a 360-degree viewpoint of the Old West, as opposed to 90-degree, not even 90, a 45-degree viewpoint of the Old West, which is really what we've been given. And then I look at films like, speaking of music, I look at films like, I cannot, for the life of me, delete Lee Marvin singing The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance to Paint Your Wagon. I was born under a wandering star. Right? Or Doris Day's, I just got back from the Windy City. The Windy City is mighty pretty, but they ain't got what we got. No siree. They've got stacks of 7 stories, never need any morning glories but steps from my doorway. We got them for free. They got those minstrel shows, pretty ladies with big chapeaus, private lawns, public parks, for the sake of civic virtues. They've got fountains there that squirt you. I just got back from the Windy City. The Windy City is mighty pretty, but they ain't got what we got. I'm telling you, boy, we got more style in Deadwood City than the whole of Illinois. Like, I can't delete these things from my brain. I love them so much.
Can I just piggyback off that? So you've brought forth so many interesting things here. Let me go back to your commentary on the traditional Western, which is that it really is based on and valorizes strict oppositions, right? It's white man up here, everybody else, underneath that.
Below.
Human over animal, it's master and subject. It's just built on these strict oppositions. And I think one of the things that you're doing is striving to scramble those oppositions, right? Not dispense with them altogether, but just rework and take apart that kind of hierarchical structure. And it reminds me, and this is connected to the musicality that you're mining there, that I can't help but think that the Western, in spite of that emphasis on strict opposition, always has this capacity to tip over into camp, to campiness. And camp is very invested in that kind of blurring of boundaries. Whether it's gender dynamics or other elements. So I wonder if were you conscious that your film could be read in a wonderful way as campy?
Here's the thing. What I would say is Westerns right? As much as we love them, it's like they, as you said, it's all about dominance. And for the most part, like there's things I am drawn to in the West, but I never really see reflections of what has been my existence in the West. Meaning everyone's dusty. But yet in real life, there was a man called Charlie Utter, right? Who used to roll with Wild Bill Hickok. And Charlie Utter, do you know that he was obsessed with only wearing clothes from overseas, basically designer clothes, and they said he was nuts because he was obsessed with taking a bath every single day. This guy was actually the 2021 dude. And what I wanted to break down with, so I love the word campy, or even effeminate or feminine.
Yes.
Because for me, the strongest men are feminine. In the end scene, and I've never seen this in a Western, and without, like, if this ever hits online, I don't want to, but in the last scene, you have the protagonist and the antagonist, the two heroes crying, both of them, when they're talking to each other. They're both.
And your character of Cuffy is clearly, you know, invested in that kind of, you know,
exactly,
exploration.
right? Yeah, like what is, in real life, I only wear perfume, right? Like, what scientist decided man has to smell like musk? And yet, rappers and everyone, because they don't know it's perfumes I'm wearing. Hey, let me wear some of that, Jay. So before we go out, I spray everyone. You get the most perfume gang in the hood you ever see. Like, oh, I saw your officer, I saw a band of 10 troublemakers. Anything particular about them? Yes, they all smelled like roses. like for me, that's actually real life, right? It's real life.
Exactly.
For men to
Absolutely.
cry, right?
So
it's real life for men to be afraid. For men to go, like, I've had enough of this guy. I'm going to my death, but at least I have to hear him speaking to me in heaven or hell. Like, these things are much more. So it seems like it's hyper stylized because we're getting information that we're not used to seeing, but they're much more grounded in reality than, say, Unforgiven. And I love Unforgiven.
Oh yeah. Right. But I mean, just going back to your comment about Dusty. Another way of thinking about this, and I've been thinking a lot about the title of the film, and you know, in some of what I teach, I explore the politics of color, of actual chromatics.
Yeah.
And in the history of the West, there is this, again, kind of strict opposition between white, seen as a non-color, like something higher than a color, and then every color below that being deemed degraded or fallen somehow. It's all color is fallen.
Yeah.
It's the one critic describes this as chromophobia. You know, the white is up here and there's this fear of the colorful, all that's below it. And so I'm thinking about the title of the film, The Harder They Fall. What I hear you saying is you're investing in the pleasure of falling into the colorful. And Jeymes, one of my favorite parts of the film is the set design, the color scheme in Redwood and the color scheme in Maysville. When I saw those two sets, I was just blown away. I don't know
amazing.
how long it took you to come up with that, but
I swear, you know what, like, and my production designer, Martin Wist, who is a genius, he literally jumps into your head and he goes, thy will be done. And he will come up with all of these things, because I wanted Redwood to be a colorful town.
Oh,
because
yeah,
we don't see colorful towns in the old. I wanted Redwood to be super colorful, and I stay away from the word, from racism and like color, right? Like, you don't hear the N-word in the movie once. So when he says that's a white town, immediately you assume he's talking about people, right? Immediately. So I wanted to switch everything on its head. No, when you get to Maysville, it is indeed a white town, and it was so much fun to create, because I was like, I got a call from the studio, right? Kwame Parker, who's amazing, and he calls me at the studio because he's looking over the budget. He's like, look, Jeymes, I don't know whether it's COVID, or whether it's I don't know, James, pressure, but your appetite seems to have grown from what is being ordered to set. Your appetite seems to have grown, James. Right? I was like, what do you mean, Kwame? He was like, white horses? Maysville? He went, that town you're building was not written as that in the script. It wasn't written as a white town, but it was always in my head. Yeah. Right? It was always in my head. And he was like, James, they said there's no white horses in New Mexico, because I said I want everything white, the ground white. So I had to ship in white gravel. White gravel. Where did you get white gravel from? For the whole town to be white. All the buildings white. I said, I want all the horses white. And Kwame said, James, your appetite is growing. I said, it hasn't grown, Kwame. He went, James, you want white horses? There's no white horses in New Mexico. I didn't say I want New Mexican white horses. I just want white horses. No, Kwame, look, my appetite hasn't grown. It's always, it's
wonderful.
Huge.
It's what you're saying a lot more just by using color schematics and
schematics. And so with them, they were like they were just in full support. That's why Netflix is amazing. Kwame was like, this guy's crazy, but let's support him and just see where it takes us. And so when I say Maysville, it's a white town. It's just to turn on the head and make fall harder what people assume is color and which is going to be racist. It's a white town. There it is. That's a white town. Like, it's not, I just want to I want to have fun with the stereotypes. I want to have fun with the incinerating of the stereotypes that we automatically assume.
Yeah, that's great. That's the scrambling I'm talking about. That's what you're doing. Yeah, I know it really is. And by the way, I think I'd be curious. I wish we had more time. I'd be curious to talk to you about your camera work, because I do think there's also that kind of scrambling or that boundary dissolution or challenging in some of your camera shots. Like one of my favorite shots, I'm sure you've heard about this one, is that shot where you start in Rufus Buck's office upstairs. And you go literally through the boundary of his window all the way down the street to the close-up on that love.
All the way down the street to the close-up. And we can speak about that. And that's a real shot. It actually looks like it's a video game. It looks like CGI. There's no CGI. It's a real shot, cable camera shot, right down the street. And what I wanted to do is, if you look at the movie again, you will see that Rufus Buck and Nat Love never, ever share the same frame. They never share the same frame until Rufus Buck says, and son. And as he says son, he walks into a two-shot. That's the first time they share the same frame. The only time before then, right, they share this technically the same frame is when we're behind Rufus Buck in the mayor's mansion, and then we go right down the street past Rufus Buck and to Nat Love. Now, they don't share the same frame. And when they do, you can see Nat Love far away. And then the camera moves past them and then goes to Nat Love, showing the distance between those two. That's the only time they're in the same shot, right? I show the distance between them, and then I bring them together on the word son. And I do these things because, like, there was a lot that John Ford or John Huston would have done with the camera, but they couldn't, because it was back then. When I can explore new ways of doing things. In the final showdown between Nat Love and Rufus Buck, as we said, the showdown is celebrated and it's ceremonious and spiritual. In that final showdown, where it's not about guns being drawn, it's all about dialogue. I shoot Rufus Buck static through the whole shot. And I put Steadicam on Nat Love the whole time. But when it turns to Rufus, when I turn around on Rufus, it's static, because his world is static. He has all the information and he's at peace with it. Nat Love is just getting the information. So he's all over the place. And then I come off the Steadicam and Nat Love learns the truth about his background. And I go to handheld. I don't really use handheld just as a filmmaker. I don't love handheld because it's too anticipatory of what's going to happen. Like, oh, this is going to be a fight. I think there's other ways other ways to shoot things. And I think like what the camera is the camera in every single movie is the storyteller, right? It's the storyteller. The camera is relaying the story to you. We look at what the camera wants us to see. So if all we're going to do is over the shoulder, two shot, reverse, over the shoulder, two shot, reverse, over the shoulder, two shot, reverse, there's no point in even a director being it. So I try not to even do over the shoulders. I always try to kind of, if two people are talking, get inside the conversation. I try to make as much as possible, make the camera tell us the story. So I always want to explore new ways of presenting the scene. Like when Cherokee Bill and Jim Beckwourth are facing off each other, then I do that over.
Yeah, that's a great shot. That's a
shot.
great shot.
And you just see long shadows.
Shadows, yeah, that's great.
How large
I love that shot.
These characters, these characters are.
Yeah, but it really is I come back to the Showdown again, but it really is a love letter to cinema in a way, the film, isn't it? I mean, your use of freeze frame and slow motion and all of, I mean, it's you're to use the Showdown metaphor. I mean, you're emptying the chambers in a way to to show what the camera can do. And
I go split screen on the train, and
like
that. The following scene takes place in split screen. Then when the door opens, the split screen moves out of frame, and just all of the things that I yearn to see in a Western. All the things that I yearn to see in cinema.
And back to the metaphor of the fall, then again, in some ways you're inviting the viewer to just fall in this kind of trance-like way into the pleasure of the Western, of all of the sonic texture, the landscape, the colors, it's you're taking them on a trip, right? I mean, I don't want to lean into this metaphor too heavily, but it's it's like, hey, this is a good drug,
like the stuff that me and William liked is good for you.
Yeah.
Now we'll broaden the scope. Women don't have bosses. I'm not asking for your permission, Nat. I'm going into town like my boss, Trudy Smith. Clearly, you don't know me. Like, I want to see these powerful women, powerful people of color, and all the other things that we like pay homage to, like the vistas, right? The long vistas, like the opening title sequence of the Big Country with the horses running. I want to get in the horse with the Crimson Hood gang. I want to give you all of the things that we love and celebrate about the Old West: bank robberies, train robberies, jailbreaks. I put a train robbery and a jailbreak in the same scene. In the same scene, right? So I want to give us all of the things we love about Westerns. I want like all the things we loved about them,
right?
And then deliver all of the things we never got. We weren't fed. Like it's okay for grown men to cry when talking to each other. He doesn't have to be cradled in the lap of his loved one. He could be speaking to his enemy and crying. And this is real life. A grown man, like we could be as well as slinging a gun. We could be super scared, right? We could be. It's okay for. I think the feminine aspects of the male psyche are the strongest aspects.
Totally, yeah. Totally agree. Yep. You know what you're doing is that, and this is connected to thematics in the film, but you're resurrecting the genre, right? And there's a lot. We probably won't get in time with this, but there's a lot of play with death and resurrection in the film.
Yeah.
This idea that in some ways Nat Love suffers a kind of death as a child, and then he's coming back to life over the course. And I think Rufus Buck too. I mean, the jailbreak in effect is the way you shoot it and everything. It's like he's emerged from a tomb,
He's emerged from a tomb. I do a sneaky thing with that shot. When he inhales, when you watch it again, everything swells. He inhales, the scenery around him swells. And Richard King, my sound designer's genius, Christopher Nolan's sound designer, he makes the sound of the metal even bend. And then or just all of the things that we weren't fed. And it is like he's coming from a tomb. And then in the end, when Mary asks Nat Love, "Is the devil dead?" And Nat Love says, "I don't know."
Yeah.
Because you become what you kill.
Right.
You are what you eat. You become what you kill. You know, does the quote unquote bad guy die? And another thing, you know, about reversing the roles. Who's bad? We think Rufus Buck is bad because the heinous crime at the beginning. But then when you learn it and then you look at everything he's doing through the movie, you're okay, are these guys bad guys, or are they just like politicians, the government? They want to get something done. Whereas Nat Love, we meet that gang and they're good guys. But we meet that gang murking people to bits in cold blood. The Crimson Hood gang, they're just picking them off. So
I mean, I go back again once more to this idea of scrambling oppositions. I mean, and you're right. It's this question of who's good and who's bad, and that does go back. I mean, to credit the traditional Western, that is there at times. I mean, you think of The Searchers, right? It's Ethan Edwards, you know, who's haunted, who's scarred, who's
like it's you know we look at Jason Robards in Once Upon a Time in the West.
Oh, Frank.
Right? Yeah. I don't necessarily...
not Frank. I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
He's our friend, and he cracks a lot of jokes, but I don't necessarily think he's good per se. He's just he's just on the good side of the story. A quick sidebar, William. And if you haven't spoken about this in your class or taught about it, I'm glad you and I could bring it up. There's a film called Il Grande Silencio by Sergio Corbucci.
Oh, right? That's
And that film,
has
a black guy. The whole story is about this black guy in the town that's beloved that just gets killed by Klaus Kinski for no reason, right? For no good reason.
Yeah.
And so the town save up to hire a gunslinger to kill Klaus Kinski. And that's one of the first movies that shows a black guy of color as a main part of the story and does not refer to him being a slave, there's no reason for him being there outside of he was alive in that time and place, which really had a profound effect on me when I first saw the movie. But the reason I'm bringing it up is that movie has one of the most uncompromising endings I've ever seen in a movie ever. When it ends, like this should be studied. You're like, no, wait, there must be a Marvel after credit, post credit sequence. They've saved up their whole money to hire this gunslinger, and in the end of the movie, he beats Klaus Kinski, and then and he gets killed. Yeah. And then you're like, what? Then the credits start rolling. That's the most uncompromising ending I've possibly ever seen, not in a Western, in a movie ever. Because you're like, okay, well, the credits can't win. This must be a joke. They're going to come back down, and he's going to go out and live another day, and then come back like Eastwood in a fistful of dollars with the metal undertone.
Right.
That doesn't happen. The movie just ends. So it's interesting how the Italians were also turning things on their head and turning these age-old tropes on their head, and that kind of in making the harder they fall as well. Just the fearlessness and the obeying my crazy.
Right. So you're in a wonderful cinephilic way, citing all these films. I was going to ask you if you had a sort of desert island, list, a short list of like 3 to 5 films that you would recommend. Hey, okay, this is how I'm going to show you that the Western is.
All right.
You're describing.
Okay. The Great Silence, Il Gran Silencio, Sergio Corbucci.
Which you just mentioned. Mm-hmm.
The middle film of the Eastwood Leone trilogy, For a Few Dollars More, Oh my God, if that film is not the most swag, that film is the easiest film of their trilogy to show my wife. A Fistful of Dollars is too slow for her, right? The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is way too drawn out. I love them both. But for whatever reason, when Lee Van Cleef first appears in the Sergio Leone trilogy with Eastwood, it's just so much fun and swag. Like swag when they're shooting each other's hats. Pew, 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 pew. And the sound of the gunshots in that movie, like the sound design, is so joyous in that movie, more so than Fistful of Dollars or The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly even. Yeah. It's joyous, like they have the gunshots are singing. Pew! So I would say El Gran Silencio for a few dollars more. You know, I come back to The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, maybe because I loved James Stewart so much, and Woody Strode's in it, even though he can't even get a drink in the bar. Pompey drinks where I drink. He plays a character called Pompey. Pompey drinks where I drink. Even as a child, I was like, that's Woody Strode. He's from Spartacus. Yeah. He should. Why are we treated like this in these films? So I would still say The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance. I mean, my choices will be odd. Remember the Terrence Hill Bud Spencer movie, Trinity movies. They call me Trinity. I'll take one of the Trinity movies because they're so much fun. The Control to Slap, this and that and the other.
Could we give a shout out to at least one woman director? How about Kelly Reichardt? Do you like her work?
Oh my God!
I think Meek's Cutoff is just an amazing film.
And the crazy thing is, it's because like it's almost like how she did what she did and broke through in you know, like with that kind of movie, right?
Yeah.
With that kind
talk about slow.
but here's the thing: if there was more Kellys, we would have had more of a broader scope of what that genre could be, right?
Exactly. Well said.
But we never did. Like, it's like a one of one, right? It's almost like how? And women weren't given the opportunities. Women weren't given the opportunities. People of color weren't given the opportunities. If we had more Mexican directors, right, then we wouldn't see Mexicans in the light that we saw them. There's two types of Mexicans in those Hollywood movies. They were in the short, wearing white and running fast, which is where Speedy Gonzalez, the cartoon, came from. Arriba, ándale. Or the big, fat, super greased up hair, dirty with bullets down the side. And I've never met a Mexican person that looks like that ever in my entire life, which I'm still sure up to today, Chewbacca is inspired from, right? That thing with the bullets down the side and the because you know Star Wars is just a Western in space.
Oh, totally, yeah, sure, it is space Western.
And so we because there wasn't an even playing field of directors. We had Kelly, but there wasn't an even playing field of like female. I mean, still isn't really, but female and people of color of all walks. What, you know, an amazing scene in For a Few Dollars More, right? Still has the cringy Chinese man wearing blue, take it to the station, take it inside. Take it to the station, take it inside, take it to the station, take it inside. There's still those stereotypical tropes, even though we love the movies. Because if you and I turned our back on those movies because the viewpoints and what they've done to people, we wouldn't have any movies to watch. So we still had to learn to love the good in them, like the filmmaking, this certain aspects of the story. We still had to learn to love and celebrate these movies, but we really did need a more of a varied, community making those films.
And I think one thing that the genre leaves open as a possibility is consideration of the dynamics of trauma in a way that gets glossed over in too many traditional Westerns. I mean, you think like the beginning of Red River when, the young Matthew Garth comes out of the, he's suffered the, the attack, and then John Wayne Townsend just slaps him, and he's fine after that.
Like no room for emotions here.
Yeah, no room. Right. But you get, I mean, there's a film like Chloe Zhao's The Rider, which is really, it's another wonderful, contemporary Western where
contemporary Western
dynamics of trauma are explored at length. And I think you get into that some in your film too, it's.
Absolutely. I try to explore the dynamics of trauma. Another movie that people could watch is a more current one. It's an easy one to watch. And also they like the actor from Parasite, right? The Good, the Bad, the Weird. Korean movie, because they have fun with that film. So that's another one I'll put on the list. Good. The Good, the Bad, the Weird, the South Korean joint. And but for me, and look, I have to shout out, because I'm trying to talk about the Westerns that are easily digestible, right? For people to just have fun in the Old West, all right? Then I have to give a shout out to Mel Brooks's Blazing Saddles. Right? Sure. Like that movie. I have a theory with it that the universe is always trying to deliver us brilliance, and humans always mess it up. In that film, he didn't want Gene Wilder to play the main guy. Right? He didn't want Gene Wilder to play the ex-gunslinger. He cast someone else, and Gene Wilder really wanted to do it. He's like, no, you're too young. And he cast someone else, and the guy failed after
Is that right? I didn't know that.
Wagon. So they had to cast Gene Wilder. And for Cleavon Little's part, the black guy, he wanted Richard Pryor. And the studio wouldn't let him cast Richard Pryor. They'd let him hire him as a writer. Because at that point, Richard Pryor just had a bad reputation, and he wasn't famous. Didn't bring in. But what the universe tried to do was give us Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder's first cinematic team up. And Blazing Saddles, if it had Richard Pryor in it, would have been by far the best movie those two would have made. It's doper than Stir Crazy, See No Evil, Hear No Evil, and Silver Streak, right? It would have given us their best. So humans are just always messing up the plans of the Lord. But
yes, we are flawed. Yes,
we are flawed species. Hopefully, though, I mean, the plans of the universe was for me to deliver the harder they fall. And even though they say Murphy's Law, whatever can go wrong will go wrong when you're making a movie. As I always say, Murphy caught COVID and died. That thing is now called COVID's Law, right? And we shot in the needle of the pandemic.
It's remarkable.
And yet we still came out with The Harder They Fall. So my debut film, imagine that film you watched, I had to direct my debut movie we got shut down the day before filming because the coronavirus was unleashed on the world. We got up like 5 months later, and then I was told I had to shoot my debut movie with a mask. Look how much I talk. Face mask, goggles, a shield, face mask, goggles, a shield, and you have to keep 6 feet away from all your actors.
Wow.
This was madness. So I kind of just had to have fun with it and just make it make sense. And nothing was going to stop me from making The Harder They Fall. For me, nothing was going to get in the universe's way. For me, I think for you as well, William, like the culture needed
I agree.
A new Western, and we needed to breathe new life into the genre. Because I'm always going back to, this isn't the only Western I'm making. Oh, William,
oh, really?
I love you much.
Good. Why?
Me and you are going to sit down. When I revisit it, I'm gonna call you in early. We can sit down and go through.
Please do. Please do. I'd love to.
I promise. Like, my word to God's ears. Like, when I shoot my next Western, I'm calling you in early so we could just cook and go through. We should have a chart of all the movies. Okay, here. Like Tom Cruise in Minority Report.
Right.
I'll come down to where you guys are. Like, if they can film it, you know what I mean?
Right. You're on.
100%. I'd love to do that. I love talking movies, but two, like, when people love Westerns.
Kindred spirits.
Kindred spirits. Well,
listen, thank you. It was really a pleasure to speak with you, and and it is a gift that you've given to the world, and we're thankful, and I want you to enjoy the fruits of your success, and wish you all the best. And this was a pleasure. So thank you.
The pleasure was all mine, and I'm coming for you on the next one.
You got it.
Deal?
I'm here. All right.
I'm coming. Serious, I'm coming. All right, my brother. Thank you so much.
Take care.
Thank you to everyone watching. You have a master teacher. Let's bring it home. All right, my brother.
Thank you. Take care.